What's going on, guys? So we have a repair job on the Coachman Brookstone fifth wheel. There's our 2021 398 MBL that we purchased in super early 2021, and we are having some thermostat issues. Not just thermostat issues, we're actually having a furnace related issue. And at first I thought it was because we installed the Furrion Chill Cube and we replaced the Coleman unit, and perhaps the thermostat was tied to that specific unit to kick on the furnace, because there's wiring that kind of runs everywhere. Finding out that that is kind of the case, but not in the way that I thought. Let's talk about it. Hang tight. I'll be right back. Okay, so you may hear my Predator sounds in the background. That's my noise generator that I've talked about on countless videos. That said, the issue that we actually have is a couple of them, and each one of them kind of made the next issue harder to figure out, or at least the root cause of the problem. And that is the fact that once we remove the Coleman mock air conditioning system to replace with the Furrion Chill Cube, Zone 1 essentially, because the controls now for that AC all go through that remote right there, the Zone 1 feature disappeared completely from the thermostat screen. So we have 1, 2, and 3 for 3 ACs. Zone 1 was back there, Zone 2 is right there, and Zone 3 is in the bedroom. And again, once we took Zone 1 out, or at least that air conditioning unit out, it removed Zone 1 from the screen here, and that is what was tied to the furnace. So to kick the furnace on, you'd be on Zone 1, put it on heat gas, and then you would hear your furnace ignite. So the first thing I had to do was figure out the wiring of this Coleman RV Comfort.ZC, kind of a weird name to it, 3-zone thermostat. And I reached out to actually my friends over at the NRVTA, who he provided me the information, basically said cut the white wire and move it to the orange wire, and the orange wire would be for Zone 2. So I did that, and the furnace still didn't kick on. I wasn't getting anything happening with the furnace. So I was super confused, and now I'm trying to figure out what in the heck is going on. It's either a thermostat related issue, it is a wiring related issue, or it's a furnace related issue. So by it not kicking on, it actually made the problem significantly more confusing. That said, I decided to kind of dive in deeper once we got back from the RV trip. Thankfully, it only dropped down to about 32 degrees. We had some space heaters and things in here in the fireplace, which was able to keep it nice and warm inside. But I definitely want my furnace working, so I wanted to dive deeper into it. So I came out to the RV today, popped this out, wanted to make sure that the wires were going to the corresponding locations that I thought. And in essence, what I found out is that these two wires right here are actually my furnace wires. It has its own little wiring harness, and it is a red wire and a white wire. Now, I'm learning a lot of things about how they wire these, and it's kind of confusing, but I'm figuring it all out. Let's go over to the furnace so I can show you what's going on over there. Okay, so we're around to the furnace now. This is I really don't know which one you go by. It's 40,000 BTU input, 30,400 BTU output. Let's just call it a 30,000 BTU furnace. That said, this is an Atwood Dometic furnace, and you have your circuit board right here, you have your sail switch right here, and then it's a really simple wiring job, honestly. It's basically power and ground feed into it, and then you have these blue wires which go out to your thermostat. Yes, they route around to the igniter and different parts of it, but the circuit board is what controls pretty much everything. It's more of a control module. It controls when this ignites, how long it ignites for, and all the thermostat is there to do is to tell this when to turn on and when to turn off. Everything else is handled by this board. And unfortunately, this board isn't housed in a super insulated, tight area where water or other things can't eventually get into it. And because of that, we've kind of ran into the situation a lot of RVers run into, and that is the circuit board going bad. So once I removed this circuit board, I was easily able to see that there is damage to it right here. Looks like water condensation may have rested on this board and ultimately caused it to fail. And you can actually see here the corrosion in the bottom. You can see it's blackened right there. And this is all stuff that's caused this board to go out. So I've ordered the replacement board, and it should be relatively simple once that board comes in. But this is the part I want people to kind of key in on, because they may not know. If your furnace power goes out, it's likely your thermostat's going to go out as well. The power coming into your thermostat is usually fed by the 12-volt constant power that goes from your battery to your furnace, and then from your furnace through one of these blue wires, which is hot, it will actually feed into your thermostat, providing your thermostat with the power it needs to come on. And once this board went out, or once I turned this off, I went around to the inside and I was going to kind of mess around with it to see what was going on with power, and the thermostat was powered down completely. And again, that's because there's no more power going to it because it's fed from this area right here. So if you go to your RV and you see that your thermostat's not powered on, it's worth checking your breakers for your furnace or even your furnace itself, because in our case, this main control board going bad is the reason why there's no power going to the furnace. So I've in essence figured out the problem. I pulled out my sail switch, which is right here, and essentially how this works is your fan spins, the fan's inside of here as well, and it blows against that sail. It's a little piece of metal that sticks out, and it pushes that in, and that's essentially a safety mechanism. So the sail switch is going to be essentially pushed in like a little spring or a sail from the wind, and that can either cut or continue power flow through the switch right here. So again, the challenge that we have is a bad board. Hopefully that's all it is. And what's kind of funny is last night while I'm laying in bed trying to figure out what on earth is going on, what was going on with the furnace, why it wasn't working. Was it tied to me replacing the AC with the Furrion Chill Cube and removing the Zone 1 feature? Was it tied to some other wiring related issue? I just honestly had no idea what direction to look. So I decided to do what I think a lot of people do, and that is just start ordering replacement parts because they're relatively inexpensive. Now, they make a ton of knockoff versions of this board. I noticed on Amazon there were like 20 or 30 at least that looked the same, and they were designed to replace this part number. The part number on this one being 33488, but there's one other part number that I think is the same thing. It's a different part number, but when I looked closer at the actual images, it had the same part number right here. But there was only one link that was the actual original Atwood brand. And one thing I like to read is this right here. Replacement circuit board must be an agency certified board. Non-certified boards may not have the required critical safety controls and system checks. So for me, we're dealing with propane, we're dealing with fire, we're dealing with something that's designed to heat up your RV when it's cold outside. I preferred to go with the actual OEM board. So the board that I ordered, and I ordered it through Amazon, was about $85. It was the Dometic Atwood actual board, and that's the one that I would choose to go with on here. There are a lot of aftermarket ones. A lot of people have left reasonably positive and to terribly bad comments on the various ones that are for sale, but the specific one I got was the one manufactured by the actual OEM manufacturer of the furnace itself. Just like when I made that video on power converters, there are a lot of them that look just like the factory one that you get with your RV, except it's a knockoff brand. And you really want to take a risk when you're talking about electricity, especially something that's designed to safely charge your battery, to go with a knockoff brand just because it's going to save you maybe 50 to 100 bucks. In my case, the one I purchased is about twice the cost as the ones that were cheaper and generic, but I honestly feel that's the right way to go if you're going to be replacing a critical component such as a part of your furnace. Okay, so my Amazon package arrived with the new control board for the furnace, and it actually has the same part number as the one I'm taking off. Check that out. So this one's ready to go. We're simply going to disconnect it and reconnect the new one. Then we'll go inside and check the furnace and see it works and see if we can get this thing going. Okay, so I have all the wires transferred over. Just swapped them one at a time to make sure they went in the right spot. We're going to get this thing plugged back into the plastic part right here. We're going to turn it back on. We'll go inside to see if the furnace or the thermostat kicks back on. Then we'll be able to test the furnace out. Okay, we're going to step inside the RV. It should be back on. It is. So now I just need to switch from the white wire here back to the orange wire, and I should be able to kick on the furnace. So let's do that. Okay, so now I'm going to simply switch the system to heat. Oh, past it. Then we'll go to gas. I'll raise the temperature way up because I want this thing to kick on. I'll go to 90 degrees. And then that should start igniting here in a second. There we go. Oh. I hear the fan. Let's go out and see if it's igniting. Okay, so the blower motor's working. Just waiting to see if it tries to ignite. There's a lot of intelligence built into this board. And we got the sail switch right here. That might need to be replaced as well. I bought that just in case. Doesn't seem like it's working yet. Let me replace the sail switch as well. So here's the new sail switch. This is the old one. I'll take the little shroud off around it so I can remount it. But in essence, it's something that just gets blown by the fan whenever it's spinning. It's a safety. And if it's not able to move, or if it doesn't make a good connection, it doesn't allow it to ignite. So we'll see if that works. Sorry for the wind noise. I brought the wrong microphone out with me. But we're gonna get this one put in place and see what happens. Okay, we have the new sail switch in place as well, and the new board. Turning it on. Let's see what happens. I might need to go inside and mess with the thermostat again, but hopefully not. There we go. There we go. It's lit. That lit fast. Wow, that's exactly what you want to hear. That is fantastic. Everything's working the way it should now. Furnace worked perfectly. Let's go inside and see if it's blowing some hot air. Go here to the bathroom. I have a duct right here. Nice. Get some nice hot air coming through. It's exactly what it should be doing. That is fantastic. Back at the furnace, should be able to shut this off now. I'm going to drop the heat down first. Okay. And I will change the mode. You got to give it a second here sometimes. Should shut off momentarily. There we go. I'll change that to off. So it should kick on the air conditioning unit now, which it is. Be able to dehumidify the space a little bit. And I tape off this wire right here and we'll be all done. So again, some of these repairs, they can seem kind of tedious and daunting until you realize that it might have just been a component that failed over time, that wasn't maybe sealed up against the elements as well as it could have been. And that's going to be something I try to go through here and do, is to fix some of those issues to where I don't have to worry about them as much. But, you know, 4 years in, you know, the control board going out, that's not that bad. So it was a relatively inexpensive repair. Went ahead and put a new sail switch in at the same time. Overall, under $100 for all of it, which again, not too bad. Anyways, guys, I sure hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up. We'll talk to you again very soon.